When I was 18 years old, I made a massive mistake that ended up costing me around $3,000 because I thought that the only way to build credit was by buying a big item, paying it off over time, and then that way I have credit, right? But in reality, no, it's not the best way. And that's why in this video, I'm going to break down how I managed to build credit for my mom and for myself without really having to do that ever again. So in this video, I'm going to break down secured credit cards versus unsecured credit cards, what the difference are, and the pros and the cons to each and every single aspect of those cards. By the way, I have two cards right here. I have a non-secured card and also a secured card. So you might be thinking, Tommy, this is your mom's card and this is your card, or this is your card, or this is your mom card, okay? In reality, the pink is my card. Don't be judgmental, bro. I like pink. It's 2019. No big deal there. But again, this secured card belongs to my mom, and this unsecured card belongs to me. But I'm going to show you guys how I wish I got this card first and not this card when I first started building my credit back in when I was 19 or 18. I don't really remember, but it was when I was 18. Now, if you guys don't know me, my name is TommyBryson. I'm an accountant. I post videos every single day on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notified when I post a new video. On top of that, do me a favor, hit the like button. Really appreciate it. And here's a question for you guys, okay? Do you have a secured credit card or an unsecured credit card? And maybe you don't have any. Comment down below, let me know, and I'm going to tell you in this video which one you should get if you're trying to build credit, if you already have credit, and how many should you actually get. Because some people say like, hey Tommy, do I get one? Do I get two? Do I get them both? The answer is, I'll tell you at the end of the video. Now, before I get started, guys, I do want to clarify one thing here, and the answer is this, okay? Well, the thing is this. I want to make sure you guys understand something. You don't need to buy a very expensive item to build your credit score. That's not needed. It is possible, you can do it, but you don't need to do it. You don't need to pay interest to build your credit score. That's not true. And if anyone tells you different, it's a red flag, okay? If anyone tells you, hey, you know, here's my book. My book costs $1,000, but guess what? If you buy it and you finance it with a credit card or with a loan, well, you actually build credit. The answer is yes, but you don't have to do that. So they want you to buy products that are huge, that are big, but in reality, you don't win anything. They win. And by you paying interest on something you can't afford, well, now the credit card company wins, plus the person you actually bought the product from wins, and you just end up losing. And yes, you might have a pretty good credit score, but there was a better way to do it that would have saved you a ton more money. So here we go. Now you might be asking me before I get to the pros and the cons, well Tommy, what's the difference between a secured and an unsecured credit card? Okay, they're both a credit card, but what's the main difference here? Well, the difference is this, okay? When I got my credit card, well, the bank just lent me the money and then I could buy whatever I want with their credit line. But when my mom got this credit card right here that has I think the credit line's around like $800, well, she had to put down a cash deposit of around $750, and the bank only gave her basically $50. But her entire credit line was around $800, but her credit line is made of her money. So in reality, when she's done paying it off and when she wants to cancel or upgrade the card, she can get back her $750 back. But all the money that I borrow on this card doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the bank, so I always have to pay it off on time or I will be charged interest. Same thing for this card, but one, it's my money, cash deposit, and this one is the bank's money. That's the main difference. And you might be asking me, Tommy, it sounds pretty much the same. The bank is taking your money, lending it back to you. How does that make sense? Get a normal credit card. Well, the answer is no, not really, because sometimes you can't qualify for these cards, and that's why getting one of these cards is a better deal than buying a car that you can't afford and paying it off over time, or buying a laptop that you can't afford. And this is where I actually break down the pros and the cons between a unsecured card and a secured credit card. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video when I told you guys, you know, my first credit card ended up costing me around $3,000? Well, the answer is yes. And here it is, guys. My first credit card was actually a Barclays card, Apple Rewards cards, and I actually spent all the money, the entire credit line, on a new MacBook laptop that cost me around $3,000. A little bit more with tax, but I paid it off in cash. And the main thing is this, I ended up paying off that laptop in around 10 to 11 months interest-free because it was a promotion, but in reality, if I could do everything differently, I probably wouldn't do it. And here's the thing. Everyone told me, Tommy, here are the pros to having a credit card. Well, you know, you get better offers. So you get cash back, you get rewards, you get travel points. On top of that, you get sign-up bonuses. So for example, when I got this card, let me cover it up here. I don't want you guys to see my bank details on order Starbucks. When I got this card right here, the Barclays card, they told me, hey, Tommy, it doesn't matter. You can buy an Apple laptop and you get 15 months to pay it off, interest-free, no problem. When I got this card here, they told me, hey, Tommy, you can get the Discover It card and no problem. Whatever you spend on the first year will match all that cash back, which is basically like 5%. You will match everything for next year and give you all the money. Meaning that by having one of these cards, you get more promotions, more offers, more cash back, all that fancy stuff, and sign-up bonuses. But in reality, it ended up costing me a ton of money. On top of that, everyone told me this. Hey, Tommy, when you get a credit card, you end up building your credit score. You can fix your credit score. You can establish credits. And on top of that, you don't need to put a security deposit. Because imagine this, guys. I was, what, like 19 or 18, and I literally got $3,000 on this card from my bank, and I was like, okay, that is a lot of money. By the way, I was 18 or 19, I was making around $1,000 a month. $3,000 was a lot of money back then. But what they didn't tell me was, you know, Tommy, you don't need to make a purchase that big to build your credit, okay? Because it didn't tell me the cons of getting one of these credit cards. It's basically, you know, whenever you get a credit card over a secured card, you run the risk of, one, not being accepted, two, getting a very high interest rate because of your credit score, and three, well, guess what? You get a very low starting limit. So for example, I might have gotten $3,000, but it was because I had student loans and I also had a job, and they saw all those things, the whole picture, and said, you know what? This guy can probably afford this $3,000 loan, and they made a good assumption because I did afford it, I did pay it off, but I wish I didn't because there was a point where I actually lost my job and I still had to pay back that $3,000 on a laptop that wasn't really doing much for me, but it kind of did. I'll explain that in a later video, but not today. But here's my thing, guys. If I could do it all over again, I would have never, ever gotten a credit card for the sole purpose of just like building my credit score by making a big purchase. Because although I can get a credit card and I can build my credit score, yes, you know, clap, clap, clap. You build your credit score, but I would have never, one, carried a balance, even though it was like 0% APR, and I would have never, ever bought something I couldn't afford to buy at least twice or three times because I knew for a fact that if anything changed in my life, I would be stuck with all that debt. So here's where we actually get into the secured credit card and why I wish I got one of these cards instead of an unsecured credit card to actually build my credit score in the very beginning. Here we go. Now, the main thing is this, guys. When I did it the second time around, which basically I got the chance to do this entire thing over with my mom because my mom didn't have a credit score whatsoever. When I asked her, you know, do you want to build your credit score? She said yes. She said, you know what? I'm going to buy a $1,000 bed or $2,000 bed and I'm going to pay interest on it. But slowly but surely, I will be building my credit score. And the guy at the furniture place said, you know what? That is a great idea. Go ahead and do it. And I was like, you know, no, she's not going to do that. So here's what we did, guys. I actually got her the secured credit card by Capital One, and she deposited around $750. That was her limit. On top of that, Capital One gave her an extra $50 that they provided for her, and it added up to around $800. And even 3 months later, Capital One gave her an additional $200, and sends her offers every single month about new credit cards and what they actually want her to apply for. But here are some of the pros to getting a secured credit card. Now, the first one is this. Your credit score goes up. Because a secured card doesn't mean that, hey, you know, it's a secured credit card with my money, so didn't report anything to the 3 bureaus. Well, the answer is no. They still report your activity to the credit bureaus. So in reality, you still get to build credit while having a credit card like this, a secured card, so there's no worries there. On top of that, you might be able to get a higher limit than you would have with a normal credit card like this one because, again, guys, I got super lucky to get accepted for a $3,000 credit line because it was for an item, but most of my friends, most of them only get around like $300, $500 for their first credit card, but my mom had a lot of cash on the side. She said, you know what, I'll put in $750, and that way her credit starting line was around like $750 plus $50 from Capital One, which is a lot better than $200 or $300 if she was just getting started building her credit with another normal unsecured credit card. Now, on top of building credit, you also have, most of the time, no annual fees, and most of the time you also have a very low deposit. So for example, my mom put in around $750, right? But you didn't have to, you can put in $100, $50 depending on the card, no problem. On top of that, whenever you get one of these cards, you could eventually upgrade it to another normal credit card like this one with Capital One, and that way, well, now you have a normal credit card, a credit score, and you didn't have to buy something you didn't have to buy just to build credit score, when the only person that actually benefited from it was the person you actually bought that item from, okay? Just to clarify that. Now, you might be telling me, Tommy, I get the pros, but what are some of the cons? Everything has cons. And the answer is this. You are correct. There are always cons. And here we go, guys. The cons are, you do need a security deposit. So if you're broke and you don't have any money whatsoever, you might not be able to afford it, because most of the time it's like $50, but you might be in a hard time. But again, if you can't afford a deposit of $50, maybe don't get a credit card in the first place. On top of that, you might get a higher interest rate because it is higher risk for the bank, even though they're basically lending you your own money. So the interest rate is usually higher on a secured credit card instead of a normal credit card. By the way, the APR on this card is around maybe 16, 18%. On this card is around 27%. So it's a lot higher because it is for people that have average scores, and you don't need a crazy credit score to qualify for this card. It's very easy to qualify for these cards, by the way. That's another pro. On top of that, guys, if you don't have a lot of money, you might get a very low limit because, again, you can't afford to put a very high deposit into it. So that might be a problem for you. And also, most of the time, these secured credit cards don't come with a lot of bonuses, rewards, cash back, all that fancy stuff. So you might lose out on a lot of that stuff. And yes, I know about the Discover Secured card, but it is very hard to qualify for that card. And usually you can't qualify for it. So I really want to put it in there. But in reality, they only give around 1% cash back. It's not that much, but they still do give you cash back, but it's not as much as the unsecured card that gives you 5% on certain things. So in reality, guys, comment down below and let me know. Do you prefer to actually build your credit score for the first time with a secured or unsecured credit card? Comment down below. Let me know. And before I go, I want to say one last thing. And here it is. Remember, you don't need to buy a very expensive something to build your credit score, because my excuse to build my credit score and to buy that expensive laptop was, hey, I'm going to build my credit score, so it really doesn't matter. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get this credit card, the one on top here, and that way, guess what? I build my credit score, I have my laptop, and everything is fancy dancy, but I would have probably just gotten a secured credit card, build my credit score that way, and just bought a laptop that I could actually afford and wasn't so much beyond my budget, because a lot of the times you might get a credit card, which is awesome, incredible, but you might get into trouble because you can't afford what you actually buy on the card. And guys, as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, really appreciate it. And as always, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get notified when I post a new video. On top of that, before I go, if you will have any questions whatsoever, just DM me on Instagram at TommyBryson. I'm always here to answer all the questions. And watch this video right here. It is on secured credit cards, the best ones in the market. And if you want to subscribe to the channel and you're mobile, click my face right here to subscribe right now. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. And thanks for watching, and peace.